Romans 8, verse 10. Before I read, I just got to say one more time. If you're a first-time guest or a returning guest, a little different today, but we're excited about different. You know, Jesus very seldom throughout the scriptures, I don't know if he ever preached without an illustration or a giveaway. He was the Son of God, still is, by the way. The greatest of all time, the original GOAT, a preaching machine. And he still used parables and stories and come to church and we'll give you some fish and bread, right? He did all kind of things to keep you. How many know we serve a creative God? Go outside and look around. You'll see how creative God is. I mean, look in this room. There's no two people alike. God takes thought, and it's proven you will retain more what you see and experience over what you hear. So I could have just preached a normal sermon, you know, and not did all the hype, the indoor tailgating, the food, and all that. But I did that because I never want you to forget this experience that you're about to land in, and we're going to grow together as we go together. So Romans chapter 8. In verse 10, the words of the Apostle Paul, he said, but if, now you can remove that if because he's actually about to make a point. But if Christ is in you, and he is, your body is dead because of sin, yet your spirit is alive because of righteousness. And if the spirit of him who raised Jesus from the dead is living inside you, again, he is, he who raised Christ from the dead will also give life to your mortal bodies through his spirit who lives in you. You think Paul is trying to make a point? Therefore, brothers, we have an obligation, but it's not to the sinful nature to live according to it. For if you live according to the sinful nature, you will die. But if by the Spirit you put to death the misdeeds of the body, you will live. Verse 14 says, because those who are led by the Spirit of God are sons of God. For you did not receive a spirit that makes you a slave again to fear, but you received the spirit of sonship, by whom we call Abba, Father. The Spirit himself testifies with our spirit that we are God's children. Now, if we are children, if he's in us, then we're heirs. What does that mean? That means everything he's got is ours. Co-heirs with Christ, if indeed we share in his suffering in order that we may also share in his glory. I want to talk to you for the next few minutes on the thought, the DNA of a champion. The DNA of a champion. Like I said earlier, if you have Christ living inside of you, I don't necessarily have to teach you how to become a champion. You already are one. You may not feel like a champion. You may not have the experiences in your past that a champion would have. You may not look like one. But our feelings are not final. And if Jesus is inside of you, you have championship status and potential. And if you're watching online, that goes for you too. You are a champion. In horse racing and the Kentucky Derby, they have bloodstock agents that'll go to auctions and they'll buy and sell and trade horses, and many times they'll find a baby colt, and that baby colt will be weak-kneed, teary-eyed, look like not much of anything, was just born. But the bloodstock agent, because he did all kind of research already on that colt, will pay big money. I'm talking about multiplied millions of dollars for that baby colt. Why? It's not because of the productivity. It's not because of its current situation. It's because of the potential that colt has because of its bloodline. I want to tell you, you may not feel valuable today, but you're in the bloodline of the one that slung the stars into existence. You're in the bloodline of the one that went to funerals and would cancel the funerals because he had raised a corpse from the dead. Walking on water, turning water into wine. You are in the bloodline of greatness. Championship status and potential is living, breathing inside of you and I. So I want to give you 5 characteristics to tap into to become and start living out the champion you were created to be. Again, I'm not trying to get you to become one. There's greatness already in you. You just have to realize it, recognize it, discover it, and begin to live it out. Number 1, commitment. Champions are committed. Champions aren't afraid to commit and then stay true to that commitment. Champions commit to their team. Champions commit to their teammates. Champions will commit to their coaches and their owners and the overall vision, the process. A champion will sign long-term contracts. A champion doesn't say, well, I'll play, I'll be on the team when you need me, but I don't want to commit. That's not a champion. And if you want to be a champion in life and even in the kingdom, it's going to require you to commit and live it out. It's going to require you to do more than date and mate. It's going to require more than you to shack up, but it's going to require a ring on the finger. Are you with me? It's going to require you more than just to date around and be a grasshopper Christian and go from church to church and say, well, I don't feel led there today. I didn't feel goosebumps when he preached today. I think I'll go somewhere else. I didn't feel good here. I didn't feel good there. But I am going to make a commitment. Because champions know how to make a commitment. They don't have to pray about it long. They don't have to figure this thing out and feel goosebumps and feel led. No, they decide that, you know what? Nothing happens until I plant. Psalm 92:13 says, he that plants in the house of God shall flourish in the courts of the Lord. And the Bible says, like a tree planted by the water, whatsoever things he does prospers. The key word is planted and prospered. You'll never be successful in anything in life hopping, jumping, going from job to job, church to church, marriage to marriage. You'll never make it that way. But if you want to be successful and a champion in life, you got to be committed. You got to be committed to the hard times. You know, we know that the NFL stands for National Football League, but I have friends that have played in the league, and they say, no, we say in the locker room, it stands for not for long. Because football is geared around hurting you. That's why you wear pads. That's why you wear a helmet. It's all about knocking you down. And God's purpose and plan for your life was not to knock you down, but when Adam and Eve took the fruit in the garden, they fell. And mankind has been falling ever since. And we get our feelings hurt. We get offended. We get mad. We get upset. We get let down. God doesn't come through the way we thought he should. And a lot of times if we're not careful, we'll be committed until. Not for long. But champions know how to play through the pain. Champions know how to endure the process. Because if you endure now, you get to enjoy later. Champions are committed, number one. Number two, champions are hungry. Champions stay hungry. Now, this will work outside of church, by the way. I want you to take this to your jobs. I want you to take this to your staffs, the people that own companies and jobs in here and businesses. I want you to teach this. And where did you get that? My pastor taught that. You should come to Free Life next week. It's hook. It's bait. But champions never settle. Champions keep pushing. Champions don't get satisfied to ride the bench. A champion... Now listen, the average ordinary third or fourth stringer will just draw a check and wear the jersey. But a champion says one title is not enough. Two's not enough. I mean, you got champions like Tom Brady who's 40-something years old, and I hate him. Still playing better than any NFL quarterback probably in the league because he just keeps winning. He could have retired a long time ago, but he's a champion. Because of the hunger champions have, they'll go to 5 a.m. workouts. They'll go to 2 or 3 a days out in the 100-degree weather. They're champions. They'll do things that to the world and to the average player looks absolutely ridiculous. Why can't you just draw the check? I mean, my goodness, an average NFL player makes around $400 to $500 a year. Not the average, I'm sorry, the low bar. And so you're like, why don't you just do that and just not get hurt? And you ain't got to play that much and all that. But a champion is hungry. Jesus said in Matthew 5, blessed are those that are hungry and they're thirsty, for I'll fill them. You want to be a champion for Christ? Do things other people aren't willing to do. You want to be a champion on your job? Go to 5 a.m. workouts. Go to 3 a days in the heat. Do things that doesn't make sense to others, but if you'll endure it now, you get to enjoy it. Later, if you play now, you get to, or you pay now, you play later, but if you don't pay now, you will pay later. And champions are hungry. And if you want to be a champion for Christ and draw close to Him, get a prayer life. Know the playbook. Sacrifice. Go to church when everybody else is going to the lake. Give a sacrificial offering. Serve in the house of God when you don't feel like it's your only day off, but you get up early and you come, like all of our broadcasting and cameras and production, everything you see, kids ministry, different people, they were up. I hit the second snooze button when they were already here. They pay the price. They're champions. And when you do things other people aren't willing to do, you start getting things other people don't get. Called a ring. Called a bonus. Are you hearing me? So champions stay hungry. So champions are committed. Champions are hungry. Number 3, champions, if you can see, I'm spelling out the acronym for CHAMP. Champions are adaptable. Champions, change doesn't bother a champion. In fact, they thrive on it. You know, you talk to any major high-level CEO of a company, and they have a motto, if it's not broke, sometimes you got to break it. Sometimes you just fire a few people to shake things up. That's what they'll tell you. We think in the church world, change, oh no, something must be wrong. No, it might mean that everything is right. I mean, you don't see, they call it audibles. You heard audibles, right? You don't see, if you don't know, by the way, if this is killing you and you need medicine because you hate sports, just get the analogy and the lessons behind what I'm teaching right now. I promise you there's more to it than just football right now. But this afternoon, the Cowboys will play, and you'll see them all huddle up in a circle. It's called a huddle. And they'll call a play. And they'll get to the line of scrimmage, and Peyton Manning, Omaha, he made it real famous. It's called the audible. What is an audible? An audible is when the quarterback gets to the line of scrimmage and you'll hear him start calling out numbers and different colors and different words like Omaha. And what is he saying? He's saying, I see something that if we don't change, we're going to get killed here. You don't see the linebacker breathing over me. And can you imagine a down lineman just looking up? And if this happens, I promise you he will be let go this afternoon if this happens. He stands up. Now, that's not the play you called. No. What do? They trust their quarterback. They trust that he sees something they don't see. They get to the line of scrimmage. They hear audible. They make the adjustments, they flex on the fly, they change, and the next day they're watching films, and they're like, man, Dak, you were brilliant. Thank God you. Zeke is like wanting to buy him dinner because, that guy would have crushed me if you wouldn't have called an audible. Are you hearing what I'm saying? Sometimes God calls audibles, and sometimes it doesn't line up with the way that life doesn't happen to you the way that you had thought it would. Your prayers aren't answered the way that you thought they would be, and it's in those times you have to trust in the Lord with all of your heart. You have to lean not into your own understanding, acknowledge Him in all your ways. That's what you have to do. You have to trust the audibles of life. You have to stay flexible. You have to stay adaptable when a trade takes place. But I was on the road. He was my roomie, and he got traded to the Rams. I'm going too. A champion don't do that. A champion stays committed, understanding there's a process going on with management. I don't know about this decision. I don't really get it. The eye in the sky knows. And that's what you have to do when you got friends that backslide. And they stop coming to church. And they start going out to the clubs. You got to know in whom you believe. You got to say, just because they were traded, just because they quit, just because they got off the team, there's people that'll come and go in this church. You got to say, no, I am committed to what God has called me to. I believe in the vision. I believe in the game plan. I know God's got a plan higher than mine. Isaiah 55, His thoughts are higher than my thoughts. His ways are higher. I guess I'll just keep trusting. I guess I'll resign from me and God today. And I'll trust Him with the audibles of life, with the trades, with the management decisions, with leadership. A lot of times we don't understand something in our job. We want to start slamming the boss, and you don't understand that boss protected you 3,200 times that you don't know about. Champions are adaptable. Champions are committed. Come on, you with me? Champions are hungry. Champions are adaptable. Number 4, champions are merciful. Champions are forgiving of one another because they know if you ride that kicker that misses the field goal in the first quarter. How many Cowboy fans in here? You don't want his head to be messed up when there's 2 seconds left in the game and they're down by 1 and you need a 42-yard kick field goal, and you don't want it. You want him to be encouraged, and you also understand that he missed the field goal. You may miss the pass the next play. So judge lest ye be judged. Blessed are the merciful, for they shall obtain mercy. And give, and it'll come back to you. Good measure. The way that you forgive will come back to you. Good measure, pressed down, shaken together. I need mercy, so I'm going to show mercy. I need grace, so I'm not going to judge you for something that all of a sudden I point one finger, I got 3 back pointing back at me. I'm going to understand. I'm going to walk my walk. I'm going to run my race. And champions are merciful. Champions know that the majority of passes are not caught. Did you know that? You just see the ones on Sports Center, like the Oklahoma D-back like yesterday. Anybody see that? Oh my goodness! I've never seen it like it in my life. Ever. I mean, looked like me back in the day. I'm playing. And he called one hand better than I could do with 2 hands in my 20s. What's my point? Champions understand that the majority of passes aren't caught. This game is hard. The majority of runs, you just see the 40 or 50-yard run on Sports Center. You don't see all of the losses, all of the 1 or 2 yard struggles. In baseball, you know this. You know what you call a person that gets out 70% of his career? A Hall of Famer. If you have a lifetime batting average, very seldom have done it, a lifetime batting average of 300, you're a shoo-in to Hall of Fame. But that means you got out 70% of the time. Be merciful. This game is hard. Life is tough. There's people in here right now that we have no idea your struggle. And you have no idea ours. So let's not judge the man on the platform when you do things behind the scenes that. Let's all be a place of grace for every face. And we do that, and people will be running to our doors when they understand they can go somewhere that accepts them for who they are, but preaches a Jesus to them that loves them so much that he refuses to leave them where they are. Champions are committed. Champions are hungry. Champions are adaptable. Champions are merciful. And finally, champions are purpose-driven. Champions understand that they have a purpose. They're not just going through. They're not just on the team. There's short people, tall people, fat people, skinny people. If you got all skinny people on a football team, you're in trouble. They're going to need to run. If you got all fat people on the team, you're in trouble. Are you hearing me? If you got all those guys on that team that they can play quarterback, that's great, but we only need one at a time. We need all different parts. And they understand the overall goal before their role. They understand there's a purpose. There's their purpose to fulfill, and if they fulfill their purpose, there's a higher purpose that'll be accomplished. They understand there's a purpose for them being there. They're not just wearing a jersey taking up space, sitting on the bench. The bench is only so big. Have you noticed how short, really, even a big NFL team, the benches are not that big? Why? Because the majority of the team shouldn't be sitting on the bench. Champions understand they have a purpose, and they're driven by that purpose. Champions understand a long-term contract and a big check means nothing without a ring. Champions don't just draw a paycheck. They don't just have some 10-year contract that, no, they understand that means nothing without a ring, without a championship. Toss me that ball, if you will. caught it. It's a miracle. In football, don't miss this. I'm almost finished. I just want you to get this part. In football, the purpose is this ball getting into the end zone or over the field goal. But the game is totally based on where this ball goes. I mean, you can see somebody jump through the field goal and they ain't going to get any points. You can see somebody dancing in the end zone, and guess what? They can dance all they want to. They may make Sports Center, but they ain't going to get 6 points unless they have this ball. Romans 8:28 says all things work together for good for those who love God and are called according to his purpose. Some people get to the end zone, the end of their life, and they think they've succeeded because they got a big house. Nothing wrong with that. They got nice cars. They got all the stuff. They go vacations everywhere. They got the boat. They got the RVs. That's nothing wrong with it. But if you don't have your purpose, you're empty. Social Security can't buy you your purpose. Retirement can't buy you your purpose. The flashiness and the people, the acceptance and the crowd and popularity, if you don't have your purpose, Jesus is your number one purpose. Don't get into the end zone thinking you've succeeded and you've scored. If you don't have Jesus, there's no score. And your second purpose is like it. Make a difference in others. Don't get to the end zone and the thing in which God has entrusted you. Oh, don't miss this. The thing that God has entrusted you with. You get to the end zone and it's not with you. Maybe he's blessed you financially. Can I tell you, God told me 2 weeks ago, and I say God told me, I know that sounds weird because many people have abused that, but God told me to start believing that we don't have to go in there with any debt. I mean, we're going to owe $4.5 million at the most on a $12 million project. The value of our building has went up $2 million since the end of November. That sounds great, but good is the enemy of the best. And there's people in here in this room, maybe you could write a check. There's people in this room that might have gifts, that might have charisma, that could be a great VIP member, that could be a great kids worker. Man, I work with kids all week, so you'll do it for a paycheck. I got enough kids. I don't need to be back there. Oh, so those kids aren't important. I work on computers all week, and all we need is one service a month for you to run media and cameras. That's all we need. And our paycheck pays a lot more than yours. And if we're not careful, we will get to the end of our life thinking we have succeeded. And you have a devil that will not give up on you. And until that last inch before the goal line, he will keep hustling and keep running to steal your purpose. There are people in the stands that will cause you to be so caught up in you and so popular or discourage you to make you feel like your purpose means nothing. And you'll get to the end zone of life and not have your purpose. Check this video out.
Of celebration and warmth. I'll give you the rest of it after this play. 4th down and 6. And Wright fumbles. Picked up by Leon Lett. Can he go all the way? It's a 60-yard run. He's being chased by Beebe. Watch out. Did he get across? No, they are not. That's going to be a touchback to Buffalo.
There's no call yet, though.
He has not marked touchdown. It was knocked out of his hands and went out of bounds in the end zone, which would give it to Buffalo at the 20. And look at Lett. If they call that a no touchdown, he's going to dig a hole and crawl out of this place from there.
He's going to need a big hole. They have not made the call yet. Was it knocked out of his hand before? There's Leon.
He celebrated too soon.
No, that's Jeffco. He's the guy who made the hit. Leon Lett's still lying in the end zone.
Now he's on his feet. And the call by hand
The play has been ruled as a fumble in the field of play. The fumble went forward through the end zone and out of the end zone, creating a touchback. Buffalo's ball, 1st and 10.
Leon Lett would have scored, but he slowed down to celebrate at the 5-yard line, and when he did, Don Beebe, hustling, stripped it away.
Beebe is the fastest Buffalo Bill.
Sorry, Cowboy fans. They went on to win the game, the Super Bowl, but that was painful to watch, wasn't it? What about you? It's interesting that the devil never gives up. I mean, did you see Beebe? I mean, they were already down by a lot. There was no reason for him to hustle, but he was trying to take his purpose. Leon Lett. We give him a hard time. He's one of the greats. But he's had so many things in the snow, if you remember. And he got caught up in the crowd. They're cheering for me. Come on, a big defensive lineman don't get many of those opportunities. Got distracted by people. Caught up in the name and the fame. But the devil never gives up. Champions are committed, even through the not for longs, the pain of life. Champions are hungry, therefore they'll do things other people aren't willing to do. Champions are adaptable. They don't become a champion in spite of change. They understand it takes change to make them a champion. And they understand the audibles of life. A champion is merciful because he understands that it takes a whole team. And we need each other. And we don't want anybody on this team feeling bad about themselves. Because we need your head right. Because we're going to need you in this game. Champions are purpose-driven. They understand there's a purpose for them being on the team. Not just to wear a jersey, but to make a difference. And I added 2 more. It has nothing to do with the acronym, but champions aren't just great, but they make others great. That's what our whole growth track is about. That's why we're always trying to get you to serve and be a part of it. It's not because we need you as much as you need you. Connected things live and they grow. I just never connected to that church. And you know why? Because you never connected to this church. And it just doesn't feel like family to me. Because all we do is see you an hour and 20 minutes every Sunday. No. An hour and 20 minutes one Sunday a month. And you wonder why you're not connecting and growing. We want more for you than from you. We really do. Everybody has a purpose. And your purpose is not to make your name great, but it's to make others great and ultimately to make his name great. You have a purpose for your life to not just be great, but to make others great. And I thought the last thing I'll say is, what's the name again? Channing. What's his last name? I'm calling him out on live stream. I hope he don't watch this. Number 41 for the Bulldogs. We won pretty big yesterday, last night against South Carolina. But, man, old Kirby Smart, the coach. Did you see this at the end of the game? He's chewing him out. I guess he got running his mouth because he's from South Carolina. I don't know. And Kirby Smart pulled a Jimmy Johnson. You know, Kirby's like this short. You know, he's like. And that stud linebacker looks down at Kirby. Yes, sir. Yes, sir. Yes, sir. Yes, sir. Walks away. He didn't run his mouth back to him. He received it because he knew Kirby's heart. Why are you always pushing us to growth track? Why are you always pushing us to get off the bench? You know, you can be a little offensive. I brought a friend one time and they won't come back. You offended them. Well, good coaches do. I can't tell you every time you click on or come to service, I'm going to make you feel goosebumps. But I can tell you this, if you'll lean in, you'll grow. If you'll receive what I'm talking about right now. Life is not about you taking a trot to your own end zone and drawing Social Security or living in a big house and everybody saying, look at you. Life is about, do you have resources? Make the team better. Write the check. That didn't make it any more clear? Give the offering. Do you have gifts and talents? Use them. Do you have personality and you're great with people? God didn't give you that to make a paycheck. He gave you that personality and that charisma to make a difference. And I'm telling you, one thing will never be said about Richie Mullis. When I get to my end zone, it'll never be said. They may maybe say a lot. But you ain't going to say that I didn't fulfill my purpose. I know the plans I have for you, says the Lord. Plans to prosper you, not to harm you, but to give you hope and a future. God's purposes are to bless you, but that blessing is not just for you. It's to bless others as well. Stand on your feet all over this room.